The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acomb. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and in that studio, Sheriff, it's great to have you back.
Well, thanks for having me back. Nice to see you.
We've got so much to talk about. But first, I saw this in the New York Post yesterday, and it's something that I know you're going to be passionate about. They write at the Post, raise the age is ruining the lives of New York's kids. I don't think people realize how serious an issue is with raise the age.
They have no idea.
Yeah.
Younger kids are getting recruited to engage in a lot more dangerous activity. Right. Just because they know the consequences aren't near as severe as an adult.
Yeah.
So these kids are getting recruited young. They're getting involved in very violent crimes. We're just starting a trial this week of a homicide from last year. It was a 17-year-old executed another kid at a 21st birthday party. A majority of the kids in attendance there were between the ages of like 13 and 20. Three of the kids that were involved in a shooting that drove from there, and the one that was involved in it, were all under the age of 18. It's just, it's crazy. It's dangerous, and
they've tied your hands so much that you can't do anything about it. I mean, 13 to 20. How are they even hanging out with each other?
Well, there's the other part of it.
Yeah.
We're the parents in this whole thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How is a 13-year-old kid at a 21st birthday?
Yeah.
It's inexcusable, and it's an issue with the parenting.
And how does this, because this is something I've been talking about recently on the program with the SROs, which is such an amazing program. How does that work when it comes to these younger people?
Yeah, so you're talking about tying hands.
Yeah.
Especially at the high school level. There's your kids that that are problem kids. Back in the day, the SROs knew when they turned 16.
Yeah.
They knew that they'd have a little bit more bite behind the bark. Now they don't. These kids know it, and they will push the envelope to the nth degree. Extremely disrespectful. They're not worried about anything they do.
There's no repercussions.
There's none. The most you can do is push them into youth court.
Yeah.
Youth court's voluntary. If the kid doesn't want to go or the parents don't want to go, guess what? He's not going.
What's the chances they want to go?
Yeah, none of them are going to go.
No.
So it's very frustrating for the SROs and certainly the school officials as well. They don't want those kids in there if they don't need to be there. So
no, and I just think it's people, again, aren't aware of it. I know in New York City they were showing, it's almost like out of Charles Dickens, right? Where you have these kids were going into these bars and pickpocketing and all that. And when they're getting yelled at, they say, call the cops.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen.
Yeah. What are you going to do?
I mean, they're kids. They know how to skirt the rules.
Sure.
And now you've got, quote unquote, grown-ups that are encouraging them to go this direction because there's no repercussions and they're making gang money.
They're encouraging and they're recruiting.
Yeah. They
know the kids to pull into it. They give them the heavy tasks to carry out. And they sit back and reap the benefits.
It's unbelievable.
But
it's a larger picture of Albany, right, of New
Sure.
York, what we're dealing with. We're going to talk about the Attorney General's office here in just a moment, but I do want to mention bail reform because it seems like with Raise the Age around July 4th, there was so much issue. And then every once in a while, there'll be talks of reforming bail reform. Nothing's going to come from it, though.
No, they just will not. They just won't take the right steps to correct a bad decision.
No.
It continues to plague us. It continues to plague everybody in law enforcement in the state. We just had a woman the other day. It's 3 days in a row. Same place, same problems. You bring her down. She's in and out within an hour, and we're back there the next day. It's a revolving door, extremely frustrating. And I've said this before, and I think a key component that people miss on this, if we have a person that's addicted to drugs or alcohol, and you engage them in a negative context of some kind of law that they broke, but they're not going to be held accountable, or they're going to be released immediately. Before that happened, if we were able to put bail on them, get them in the jail, even if it was for a few days,
right?
It cleared their heads, it got them down off of that high that they're on, gave them an opportunity to think through things and maybe go into a different direction. Now, they're in and out so quick, they don't even have time to sober up, and they go right back to where they came from, engaged in the same type of behavior. It's just never ending.
It's got to be so frustrating from a morale standpoint in the sheriff's office because I know it sounds cliche, people say this a lot, but the ink isn't even dry on the paperwork that you have to do when these people are out.
Absolutely. Keeping the young men and women of the agency motivated and say, listen, all we can do is our job, and, let the process play out the way it's going to play out. We can't control what we can't control.
But I'm glad that you're talking about it because I don't think people realize how much raise the age or bail reform affects us locally. They think it's a New York City issue.
No, it is 100% across the state. Nobody's exempt from it.
And I hinted towards talking about the Attorney General's office. What's your interaction? Because obviously the AG's making a lot of news lately.
Yeah.
What's the interaction with you and the Sheriff's Department?
It has been nothing but negative with regard to the manner in which they evaluate any incidents law enforcement is involved in. We had 2 officers that were directly involved in an officer-involved shooting that resulted in an individual's death a couple years ago. And of course, the AG's office is going to come in and investigate that, as you would expect them to, which is aside from anything else that we do internally. But at the end, instead of saying that the actions of the officers were appropriate, justifiable, whatever the verbiage could be, they don't do that.
No.
They basically say, well, we couldn't find anything to hold them criminally accountable, so therefore we're going to close this. I mean, the actual verbiage in the last one that we had was, therefore, based on the law and the evidence, the Attorney General would not be able to prove at a trial beyond a reasonable doubt that the officers were not justified in their use of deadly force pursuant to New York State law, section 3530. That's
So they leave a cloud over it.
Yeah, it's like, well, we tried.
Yeah.
But we couldn't find anything.
We
to
wanted
really,
this outcome.
Exactly.
Isn't that horrible?
It is. It sends a horrible message to law enforcement. It makes people extremely gun shy. You get cops now second guessing themselves when they're in those types of situations, which is very dangerous. If they hesitate too long, they're going to be on the receiving end of that deadly physical force. So it's very, very frustrating. And we're hoping that a change will be forthcoming and we'll get somebody in there that's more law enforcement friendly.
Well, and isn't that the problem? Because it's the Attorney General, it's Albany in general, that we are, unfortunately, this is the state that we're living in, where it's not friendly to law enforcement. They haven't learned. I mean, let's face it, we got a guy that looks like he's going to be mayor in New York City that called for defunding the police.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and the insulting things he said about police. So it's just, the reason why it's important to focus on this is so people realize what we're dealing with at that level.
And just to take that a step further before you switch gears, which people might not understand, is these investigations apply to police officers that are off duty.
Right.
They don't even have to be on the job in the course of their duty. 2 years ago, we had a deputy pulled over a motorcycle on West Water Street in the town of Elmira. As he's approaching the bike does a U-turn and starts going the wrong way in the one-way street at a high rate of speed. The deputy knew enough not to pursue.
Of course.
Too dangerous. So he doesn't. He cuts over to Church Street and was just going to run parallel. Well, as this bike accelerates, goes around a curve, he hits a car head-on that's coming just from a store, driving home.
Minding their own business.
Gets hit head-on.
Yeah.
The kid gets ejected from the bike and ends up dying on the side of the road.
Oh, my gosh.
The person driving the car was an off-duty senior parole officer. The AG's office initiates an investigation against this man because of his connection to law enforcement. Tell me what sense that makes.
It doesn't. It's a waste of time and our money.
Yeah.
This isn't free.
It sends the message that we're trying to find something on these people, whether they're on duty or off, and it's just a sad message to send.
No, and you're exactly right. They are sending a clear message that they're out to get law enforcement.
Absolutely.
I don't know how you could look at it any other way.
Have you found a partner?
Right? Have you found the morale because of these things is affected overall?
Absolutely. When anything of that level occurs, we just had the shooting 2 weeks ago with a trooper and a deputy that were down in Chemung. Our deputy was with the trooper at the time. It results in the young man's death. You know what they don't talk about? And if people could see the body camera footage, they don't see the compassion and the care and the urgency. These 2 law enforcement officers who were directly involved in the death of this young man, the efforts they take to try to save him.
Right.
I mean, immediately, with first aid and the compassion, the empathy, that doesn't get showcased.
No.
All we do is say, well, they shot an 18-year-old kid, so let's see if we can find something wrong with this.
Yeah. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And it's about going back to when they released the statement, there's a cloud over there. It's to put suspicion on you.
Yeah, 100%.
on all turns. Speaking, and I don't even know how to segue from these things because there's so much to talk about here. But I did want to mention, because this was making the news rounds not that long ago, about the COPS grant application.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of confusion there in regards to ICE.
A lot.
Yeah.
So it's
I didn't need to tell you.
No, I'll tell you what happened is I teach at Corning 3 nights a week, and I was coming home on a Monday night, and one of the legislators called me, and he says, "Boy, you created quite a stir tonight at the legislative meeting." I said, "That's a neat trick, since I was at Corning teaching." And he said, "No, it was over your COPS grant." And I said, "Well, what was the issue with it?" It's a 19-page grant.
Okay.
Within that grant, there is one sentence that says the award recipient of this grant agrees to work with their law enforcement partners to include ICE. And that one sentence out of 19 pages just drew all this attention from a certain segment that interpreted that the monies that we were seeking was going to be used solely for looking for illegal immigrants in Chemung County, because it's such a big problem. So
always a suspicion, though.
Yeah,
it's going back to the suspicion.
But they always go to the negative.
Yeah.
And I told this legislator, I said, "Listen, I said, if you guys had any questions or concerns, just you need to call me ahead of time. If I can't be there, I'll have somebody there that can answer those questions. My goal is to put it to bed as soon as you can." So I drafted an in-depth email to all the legislators to clarify it. I did have contact from some individuals from the Democratic Party that were very concerned about it. And to their credit, they invited me on a podcast, which I attended. And I think it was a good thing. I think I put to bed a lot of misconception, misperception, and I said, it just goes a long way to have that communication. When in doubt, ask the questions.
Well, I know this happened in Steuben as well. Something like this gets blown out of proportion because the people that are going to automatically be opposed are the loudest, they're the most vocal.
Sure.
So that gets the most attention.
Oh yeah, 100%. And when I explained to him, I said, you got to understand that any federal monies that gets awarded to anybody, that could be the Department of Education, it can be the Emergency Management Office, it could be law enforcement, whoever.
Right.
Doesn't matter who it is, that verbiage is in there.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, you're not going to get the money.
Right, that's how it works.
And the other thing I explained to him, this is nothing new. Law enforcement has worked with their federal partners in my entire career.
Right.
I'm in my 36th year. We've never not worked with them, to include ICE. But now it's at such the forefront, they automatically perceive that it's something negative, and that that's going to be our sole purpose is to go look for people. And we just don't have that problem in Chemung County. No. Our monies are allocated for something entirely different. I explained that to them, and I think everybody understood.
Seems like you have bigger fish to fry.
Yeah,
You've got other things to focus
crime.
on.
You got you got shootings all the time in the city of Elmira. There's a lot of things we need to focus on.
I understand that, to change on a more positive note, the Elmira Police Department pensioners banquet, Mike Henry speaking of that. What do you think?
He did. So it was this past Sunday. The Elmira PBA did a phenomenal job with it. It's a banquet to honor retirees.
Oh, that's great.
They honor 2 retirees every year. They do a very nice presentation on them. And they had Mike Henry there, to speak on his candidacy for Attorney General. His message was well received by law enforcement because he sees the verbiage and the approach of the AG's office and what at least the perception of their goal is to kind of target and find fault with the police. And I think he's going to be a lot more user-friendly should he be successful in getting elected.
Yeah, boy, he's a hard worker. Yeah. He's everywhere.
Yeah, he is.
Because he's actually been he's been running for 4 years?
He has.
Close.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I will tell people, to encourage them you'll have an opportunity to see him at some point. And I'll get him on the show because it's next year, right?
Yes, it is.
So he's already running.
He is. I mean, that's how proactive he is and how passionate he is about it and knows the importance of getting that message out.
That means in our area, he's been there twice within the last month. That's impressive.
That's a lot, especially for upstate New York. And, that's great.
I'm going to have to reach out to him and get him on the show. All right, a couple of things before we go. This happens everywhere, it seems like, but you had an uptick in phone scams.
Yeah, it's never ending. It goes in spurts.
I know.
Yeah, and you just try to remind people to use as much common sense as they can. If somebody is calling you and presenting you with this, grandiose opportunity, or pressuring you or threatening you, those should be red flags. They're getting very clever. They're using local phone numbers to make it sound or seem like the call is coming locally. They're using legitimate law enforcement names to say that you owe money for outstanding tickets, warrants, whatever the case may be. And it does seem legitimate. We found, though, when people push back, all of a sudden these people start getting vulgar.
Falls apart,
and then there's your telltale that, it's a total scam. But it's very difficult to track because a lot of these are happening in third countries. We just can't track them down. Just use good judgment.
And just know that you have never asked someone to pay their bail in gift cards.
No, nor do we call and tell them to pay their bail over the phone. That's a court issue, and that would be done in person.
Yes, of course. This was a little while ago, but Coffee with a Cop. How's that go? Is that fun?
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. The city has taken the initiative on that. They do like Coffee with the Chiefs, which is the Elmira Fire Department chief, Andy Mallow, chief of the Elmira Police Department, Chris Thorne, and they've included me over the past couple of years to join them. It's not a huge event, but you get maybe a dozen people there, and it's very intimate, and you have a lot of good, productive conversations. And
that's so important to combat the narrative of what you're, like we're talking about with the Attorney General or the media. It's great to have those one-on-one conversations.
And you find that people become more comfortable with approaching on those issues instead of just hearing about it and being afraid to ask, hey, is there any truth to this, or what's the real story? And
there's another great opportunity tonight. You're actually speaking, and this is just only, I think, the second month they're doing it. Scope is opening a chapter in Chemung County. It's about time. Scope's a great organization, and you're going to be the guest speaker. You ready for it?
I'm as ready as I can be.
They're great. They ask some tough questions, though.
They do.
They know their stuff.
The gentleman who reached out did give me some forewarning, and he gave me some questions to be prepared to answer. But I'm sure we'll do fine.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I look forward to meeting him.
And that is tonight at the Pine City Sportsman's Club, 187 Mountain View Drive in Pine City. That's at 6:30. So we're really encouraging them. I'm hoping that they can keep that chapter going.
Correct. Yeah, that'll be great.
And finally, I know last time we talked about this, and it seems like I talk with everybody that's on the show. How's hiring going?
Yeah. So, it's like anything. It goes in ebbs and flows. Right now, we're 5 short in the jail, which isn't horrible.
Okay.
But when you're down anybody, it makes an impact. We're solid on the road patrol right now, which is good, and we're 1 down in our communication center. What becomes problematic for agencies is, when surrounding agencies start negotiating pretty good contracts. Corning PD just
I've heard this.
They knocked one out of the park, and great for them. They don't begrudge any agency that's able to do that for their members. But it tends to put, it pits one agency against another, and not always in a negative way, but, some people chase the dollar.
Yeah.
If I can make a few $1,000s more doing the same job, sometimes that's all the motivation they need to go somewhere. So we're in the middle of contract negotiations now. I hope it's successful enough and good enough to, make everybody happy and keep them where they're at.
Did you reap any of the benefit, for lack of a better word, after the strike, the corrections officers strike?
We did. We ended up hiring, I think, 11 state correction officers, but probably within 6 months, 6 of them left.
Yeah.
And went back, which we kind of knew was a possibility, and certainly understand the reasons for them doing that. But, it was nice to be able to help them, to keep them on track for their retirement. And good to have that expertise there when they were there. So. And
also, people didn't realize how long they were without a paycheck. By the time they could get through the whole system and get that job. So a lot of families in our area were affected by that.
Yeah, very much.
So
very much.
It was interesting to see. I know Stu Ben did reap, I hate to use that term, reap the benefit, because these families suffered so much during all this.
Yeah, definitely.
What a mess. Well, thanks for giving us so much time this morning.
Yeah.
Let's do this again soon.
I love it.
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
Yeah, all right. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WIDC TV, Big Fox.